And you just quickly touched on women there going through their cycle. Let's open that up and dive deep into that subject and compare what fasting might look like for a man versus a woman.
Yeah. This is such an important topic, right? I mean, we get this question probably so much. I'm sure you get this question all the time. And anytime you talk about fasting, it's like, well, I heard that women shouldn't intermittent fast. And that is that broad sweeping statement that is said flippantly. But the reality is, context matters with this too, because for this may be earth-shattering news, but not all women are the same. So it's very over broad sweeping and reductionist to say, well, fasting's bad for women. Because yes, it's true that a lot of fasting studies have been done on men and mice, but other studies have been done on women. And how can we extrapolate the exciting research and apply it in real life? That's science and the art that I talked about. So context matters when it comes to women. Not all women are the same. There's so many different. Which women are we talking about? Is she struggling with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome? Is she struggling with insulin resistance? Is she struggling with weight loss resistance? Is she struggling with chronic inflammation? Is she struggling with autoimmunity? That's a completely different outcome with intermittent fasting, any type of intermittent fasting, than a woman who doesn't have those things. She's leaner. She's maybe going through a stressful time in her life. Maybe she's not sleeping well. Maybe she has slightly sluggish thyroid. Two different outcomes, all women. Many different outcomes, all women. So it's just very important to look at the individual and say, yes, of course, some women tend to have higher kisspeptin levels, which is a signaling molecule that tends to make most women more sensitive compared to men with fasting and things that mimic fasting, like a ketogenic diet, because both are increasing beta-hydroxybutyrate, that ketone body. That has a lot of the benefits. It has a lot of the anti-inflammatory, brain-boosting, fat-burning benefits. But it's not good to say, it doesn't do anyone any good to say, well, it's all good or all bad. Like fasting's bad for women. It's like, oh, how are we using this tool? The same analogy that I would say with even working out. It's like showing up to the gym one day, you've never worked out in your life, and you try it and you work out really hard. You do too much on the first day, you feel really sore. And that's like saying, well, the workout's not for me. And anybody that's sore from workouts, that's equating that with it's not for me. Well, it's like, how are you using it? Maybe you did too much. Maybe you did the wrong type of workout. But working out is good for people. It's just a matter of how they're doing it. So the same nuanced context conversation we should be having around intermittent fasting. How are we using it? Because you can leverage the benefits and use it in a way that works for you without using something too much, because more isn't always better. And that's true for workouts, and that's true for fasting, because these are all hormetic effects on the body. That's hormesis. It's these good stressors. Workouts is a hormetic effect. Fasting is cold therapy, heat therapy. These are all hormetic tools. These are good, but too much or improper use of any one of them isn't good either. It's that balance that I want people to find. So women that are cycling tend to do better with less deeper fasts around the beginning of their period and around ovulation. And that's not always true because there's so many different variables to consider, but I want people, as they do these 4 weeks and cycle through, they're going to check in with their body. And I'm reminding them throughout the book, check in with your cycle, check in with your cravings, check in with your energy levels, check in with your digestion, check in with your sleep, check in all throughout this time, to start to see, I need more of this, I need less of this. And as they get a rhythm and a groove as to like, wow, this really works, it's that intuition growing. So I generally recommend for women that are cycling to do less deeper fasts. And that's why we readjust it based on your menstrual cycle in the book. You can do lighter fasts depending on where you're at on your cycle. And every woman's cycle is different too. And they're increasing their clean carbohydrates on days 1 and 2 of their cycle and around ovulation. So that's to give specifics. At the beginning, it's going to be a little bit more like mathematics, but at the end of it, you're just going to eat intuitively. But it's under 50 grams of net carbs on the Ketotarian days, the lower carb, clean ketogenic days, and then 75 to 150 grams of carbohydrates on your clean carb cycle days. But you don't have to figure this out. For the person that's listening to this, you do it a couple times and then you just know, I'm adding extra sweet potatoes, or I'm adding fruits, or I'm adding some rice on my clean carb cycling days. It's a no-brainer. But it's a practice, just like that yoga class. You have to do a couple times to get the hang of it.